Good evening. This is Sunday evening guided meditation, Chithurst Buddhist Monastery, so obviously we are live streaming, and you're welcome to everybody here in the hall and everybody who is connected with the live streaming. We have a day behind us, if that is the right way, so there's a past which influences us, which influences the present moment, but there's the present moment, and that's all which matters somehow, because reality happens here and now. And when we intend to meditate, often it's to find peace of mind. But realistically, we open to the way it is in this moment. And then see how we can respond to that with our awareness and our reflections in a way which is peaceful. So it's a journey, and each meditation, as you know, is different. Unless we cling very much to, do this, do that, do the other. So, yes, we can start with seeing where our feet are, and grounding ourselves. That means making the body feel connected, comfortably releasing weight and tension. So the soles of your feet and your calves, your thighs, your sitting bones, pelvis, they are received by the ground and receive the sensations from arriving at the ground. The mat, the safu, the chair. And that seems maybe completely unimportant, but basically that's the basis. So when we have a good relationship to the way we sit, we are meeting the ground, then the rest will build up on that, physically and probably also mentally, emotionally. So I would ask you to make sure you feel comfortable. And what is that? We may have an expectation. Comfortable is, I lean back against the backrest, but in meditation it's actually, if we want the body to be awake and the senses to be awake, it's much better to sit with the back free and upright and balancing itself out on the basis of the sitting bones, the thighs, the feet. if you're familiar with the term sitting bones, you don't need to know much about the anatomy of the pelvis, but just feel into the part of the pelvis where obviously there is pressure because there's some bony structure which meets the ground and gives the main weight into the ground. So you can let the weight flow off, the gravity flow off into the where it belongs, the earth, the ground. And that is not just a one-way journey, because at the same time, the more we release, the more something can open to receive the support of the ground, the energy. So the fact that we can sit upright is without necessarily very much of muscular doing, is that when we find the right balance, the flexible uprightness in the spine on the basis of the sitting bones and whatever parts of the legs are touching the ground. Then there is something which allows the spine to rise with the breath. So when you breathe out, there's a feeling of release flowing down, giving away into the ground. Which is maybe a pleasant feeling. Letting go is always something, a release. I don't have to hold that any longer. Maybe even the hands on your thighs can rest in that way, that the weight of the arms can flow through the hands, through the whatever part of the hands are touching the thighs, can flow into the legs and to the ground. And yet, with the receiving of the support of the ground, the spine can stay upright and doesn't kind of slack, body doesn't slack, sink down. It actually becomes somehow lighter, somehow more aware of uprightness. Maybe aware of how the in-breath is filling the abdomen and slowly allowing the chest to rise. And with the out-breath, that gets reversed. So it's a receiving and a letting go, constant change. And if we do that not willfully, but invest a little bit curiosity how the body does it. The body knows how to do that. We don't need to will that. But the awareness can just be curious how that happens, how that feels. So it's more listening into the body, how the in-breath is initiated. How it unfolds, how the breath fills the inner space. Expands. If your lumbar region is alert, it will support the flow of the in-breath, the uprising of the body, of the chest bone. So you may feel a little, just think maybe to support with the lumbar region, the uprising. And then with the out-breath, it's maybe getting more conscious that there's really a flow down into the pelvis, into the ground, letting go. Resting. And then just be curious really where the forces of in-breath, in-breathing start, where the rising starts. And how the internal sense of fullness is growing with the in-breath. Growing upwards. You may feel it in the shoulders or even in the throat. So the in-breath moves the body slightly up to the skull. And vice versa, the out-breath. There's subtle movement, relaxing with the out-breath. your neck may respond to the breath as well. Usually we hold quite a bit of tension in the neck because we are so focused on the eyes and fixate the connection between the neck vertebra and the skull. And with this focus of the subtle movements of the breath, that fixation can get released. The jawbones may get free. Hang a little bit. The energy between the spine and the base of the skull starts to move through. So there may be a bit of aliveness and freedom in that area where the brainstem connects with the spinal cord, the nerves. And that may have an effect on your eyes, that the eyes can relax, the forehead. And I would suggest not to focus too much on one part, but to be aware of the connection of these kind of little liberating energetic movements with between the sitting bones, the feet, all the way up to the head, with the in-breath and with the out-breath. So when the sensitivity of these subtle movements increases with the process of kind of listening inwards, sensing how the in-breath unfolds, how it transits into the out-breath. And then the out-breath. Does it unfold? It happens. Out-breath allows release. Of tension. So you may actually notice areas where there is still tension, but when the breath is moving along these areas, how the out-breath can take the tension, release the tension, take the tension off somehow. Not something we can force, it's just when we make space with the breath and then the out-breath is just flushing. Certain tensions out. And we become aware that there was tension, or still is a bit of tension. So we need to be simply patient. Trying to force it just builds up new tension. Just allowing the breath, the flow of the breath to have its effect. And with the in-breath, we may notice that certain areas in the body start to open up, which haven't been opened up before. So you may suddenly feel a little bit taller, or that the shoulders are getting wider, the heart space opens up. The head becomes lighter. When I mention that is not anything to expect, not anything which should happen. It's your own journey to find out what happens. And to just respect that. Pleasant, unpleasant, I don't know. Make space around it. Let it unfold, let it cease. It's all the Dhamma of what is. And maybe some kind of respect for what is. Whether we like it or not, It's just the result of what has happened before. And if you don't add stress, then it will slowly get softer, get freer, maybe just become more conscious. If there is pain somewhere, it's not easy to accept that and to respect that. Somehow the nerves are talking to you. Usually it's tension, it's sometimes also just waking up from parts in the body which have been blocked. So to let the energy, the breath, the release, the rising, the expanding, happening around that without any intention to let it go away or something. Just more like a mother holds a child which is crying. So there's some kind of loving making space, holding softly and benevolently. If our intention is coming in any way from aversion and go away, usually pain increases. Tension increases. Or if it's very pleasant and the intention is, oh, may this stay with me, that in itself is another way to build up tension and just acknowledge really the wanting and the not wanting and the results that have. So how to release the intention of wanting, not wanting, getting rid of. Getting more of it. All actions with intention, mental and physical. All actions with intention, be they skillful or harmful, of that acts, I will be the heir. So that's not just for the way we speak and act in the world. It's right here in meditation. And meditation is really the microcosm where we can experience it directly.